millet and millet once again. What's up, 23% Nation? This is your man, Coach D. Today I'm back with whole grain of the day, the one and only millet. Now, yes, it may sound like skillet, but no, we're talking about millet. So whether you've heard of it before, whether you like it or even hate it, please listen on. Why? Because we're going to dive into the wonderful world of millet. All right, first up, a little bit of background information. First up, millet is a group of small seeded grasses. So basically what that means, guys, is that when you consume millet, or if you consume millet, technically you're eating a seed. Now, millet is most likely coming from Africa. That's, based on historical research, it has been found that millet was first grown in the continent of Africa. Also, millet, it can be used as a traditional cereal and can also be used in porridge, snacks, and other types of bread. So there you have it, guys. A few little bit of tidbits of background information about millet. Now let's dive into a few fun facts. But before we do, take a look at the picture. See how millet comes in different colors? Now, more than likely, because it comes in different colors, it's probably going to offer you different tastes and maybe even different textures. So whenever you're purchasing millet, always be aware of the color. Now, let's dive into the fun facts. Millet is gluten-free. That's right, guys. I'll say it once again. Millet is gluten-free. So to my gluten-free community, guys, definitely eat more millet. Now, here's the thing about it being gluten-free, is that people who suffer from celiac disease can turn to it as their source of grain instead of wheat. So there you have it, guys. Millet is gluten-free. Now, if you do suffer from celiac disease, or if you do suffer from a gluten intolerance, you probably want to stay away from wheat, barley, and rye. Those are the types of whole grains that do unfortunately contain gluten. However, if it's not wheat, if it's not rye, and if it's not barley, then guess what? There is no gluten. All right, now let's dive into the 520 rule before we talk about the health benefits and the nutrition facts. Ladies and gentlemen, the 520 rule is all about food labels. That's right, food labels. Basically, the 520 rule helps us to understand and read food labels. Ultimately, the 520 rule is a guide, right? It's a guide that lets us know whether or not a food item is a good source or not a good source of any particular nutrient. Now, if we take a look at the sample food label that we have here on the slide, notice that percent daily value is highlighted in, let's say, a lavender color. Because when we're talking about the 520 rule, ultimately that's what we're discussing, is the percent daily value, abbreviated percent DV. Now, notice that lots of percentages are highlighted, right? So when we talk about the 520 rule, here's what we're saying, is that when a food item offers anywhere from 0% to 9% of the daily value of that particular nutrient, then it is not a good source of that particular nutrient. If it offers 10% to 19%, then it is considered a good source of that particular nutrient. And lastly, if the food item offers 20% or higher, then it is considered an excellent source of that particular nutrient. Now, once again, let's go back to our diagram. Notice that a few nutrients are highlighted in yellow, such as total fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Now, when it comes to those three nutrients, you really want to stay on the lower end, right? Because total fat, cholesterol, and sodium don't necessarily do the body good. So when you're choosing your foods, you definitely want to make sure that those three are probably between 0% and 9%. Now, when we take a look at other nutrients such as dietary fiber, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and iron, it's very important that those nutrients are of the higher percentage. So whatever you're eating, and make sure it has a food label, right? You want to make sure that when we look at dietary fiber, vitamins, and minerals, that those percentages are on the higher side, as low as 10%, upwards of 20%. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 520 rule in a nutshell. All right, now let's dive into the nutrition facts of millet. According to the USDA National Nutrient Database, millet contains high starch levels, B vitamins, calcium, iron, potassium, zinc, magnesium, and of course, fats. But don't be too concerned about the amount of fat because once again, millet is a seed. And basically what that means is that the fat that the seeds contain are going to be unsaturated fats. These are plant fats, so these are the good fats, right? Furthermore, there are high levels of dietary fiber. Now, if you take a look at the diagram, we do have a sample food label, right? So here we're just simply saying that a serving size is 309 grams, which is equivalent to about 3 cups, okay? So in this particular food item, we're going to get about 166 calories. Now notice that for total fat, it's only 5%. So 5% makes it not a good source of total fat. Notice cholesterol is at 0%. Now here's the really interesting thing about cholesterol. Cholesterol, ladies and gentlemen, is only found in animal products. So being that millet is a plant food, there will be no cholesterol. Also, take a look at sodium coming in at a very high 16%. So unfortunately, this is considered a good source of sodium. Now, if you have high blood pressure, this may not be the best food for you. Take a look at potassium, only at 3%, so it's not a good source of potassium. Now, total carbs coming in at 10%, so it is a good source of carbohydrates. Now, what's even better is that dietary fiber comes in at 15%. So this is definitely a food that you want to consume if, in fact, you need to increase the amount of fiber in your diet. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the nutrition facts of millet. All right, now it's time to dive into the health benefits. But before we get into the specifics, Coach D wants to talk about something that's very near and dear to his heart. Ladies and gentlemen, here's something that you have to understand, is that in order for millet to produce health benefits for the human body, we have to talk about the principle of cause and effect, which basically is one of the principles of the natural universe. Now, the principle of cause and effect basically states that every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. Chance and or luck don't really exist. In other words, everything happens for a reason. So if you find yourself healthy, then that simply means you caused it. On the other hand, if you find yourself overweight, or maybe you have cancer, or maybe you have heart disease, or maybe you have diabetes, then chances are you caused that. So in other words, the disease is the effect, and what we put into our bodies are the causes. So if you want to be healthy, you have to create health. You have to put the good stuff in. Therefore, the good stuff comes out. So here's what happens once you put in the good stuff, i.e. millet. Number 1, it protects your heart health. Number 2, is effective in reducing blood pressure. It also prevents the onset of breast cancer. It controls cholesterol levels. It can help to prevent diabetes. It aids in digestion. It detoxifies the body. And it also helps to prevent asthma symptoms. So if you suffer from asthma, or maybe you suffer from high blood pressure, maybe you have high cholesterol levels, don't fret, just simply eat more millet. Very simple. All right, now it's time to go to our website for everything vegan. Say hello to forksoverknives.com. By the way, don't forget to watch the movie. It's entitled Forks Over Knives. Now, as always, I went to the website, did just a little bit of research, and look at what I found. Two amazing vegan millet recipes that I definitely want to share with you today. So the first one is entitled Millet-Stuffed Charred Rolls. Looks amazing. Just take a look at the picture. Now, our second recipe is curried millet cakes with red pepper coriander sauce. Take a look at that picture. Looks amazing. Now, if your mouth is watering, and I hope it is, and perhaps you want to try out these recipes, all you have to do is go to the description box. Why? Because I'm providing you with a direct link to these recipes. Now, here's the most interesting part, is that when you click on the link, it's going to take you to the site, and guess what? It's going to have everything that you need in order to create these amazing recipes. You're going to have an ingredient list, it's going to give you the cooking time, and it's going to give you all of the necessary instructions. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please, at your earliest convenience, check out forksoverknives.com. All right, 23% Nation, I hear you. A lot of you say, well, Coach D, thank you for the recipe tips. Coach D, thank you for the fun facts. I really like them. But what I really want to know is, when should I eat more millet, right? Of course. Well, guys, the best day to eat more millet is Nature Day. That's right, Nature Day. Now, Nature Day happens to be the first day of the 23% challenge. Now, maybe you've been living on the rock and you know nothing about the 23% challenge. It's okay. Basically, the 23% challenge is a monthly 7-day wellness program that is designed to help improve your health, your wealth, your relationships. Oh, and it also helps to save planet Earth. Now, here's the interesting thing about the challenge, is that it's the first 7 days of every single month. That's right, the first all the way through the 7th. Now, Nature Day happens to be the first day of the challenge, which basically means it is the first day of every single month. So whether it's May 1st, June 1st, or even July 1st, it's always Nature Day. Now that you are aware of Nature Day, a lot of you may want more information. So for those of us who want more information, please listen on. Guys, Nature Day is all about getting closer to nature. Now, yes, there are lots of things you can do in order to get closer to nature. You could go swim in the ocean. You can go to a petting zoo, right? But Coach D wants to encourage you to get closer to nature through your diet. That's right, guys. Eat more plants. That's what we're talking about today. Now, perhaps you are considering transitioning to a more plant-based diet, or maybe you just simply want to eat more plants. So Coach D wants to offer you a few tips, right? So you may want to try to be a 3% vegan. And all that simply means is that you choose one day out of every single month to eat only plant foods and drink only water. Now, next is the 13% vegan, which is equivalent to 4 days out of an entire month, right? So you just pick 4 days. It doesn't matter which 4 days. It could be the first 4 days of the month. It could be 1 day per week of the month, right? Where you're only going to eat plant foods and you only are going to consume water as your beverage. And lastly, how about being a 23% vegan, right? And that's equivalent to 7 days. And ultimately, that's what Coach D is. Coach D considers himself to be a 23% vegan, which simply means that for the first 7 days of every single month, the 1st through the 7th, I only eat from the 5 food groups of plant foods, meaning all fruits, all vegetables and herbs, all legumes, meaning beans and peas, all whole grains, and of course, nuts and seeds. and I only consume water as my beverage. So there you have it, guys. Let us know which type of vegan you prefer, 3%, 13%, or 23%. All right, now perhaps you are like ready to go. And you're like, Coach D, I need more information because I really want to try out this whole Nature Day thing, right? So guys, here are even more tips. So Coach D's tips for Nature Day. Number one, go to your local grocery store. Now, when you get there, you're primarily going to hang out in the produce section. Why? Well, because that's where all the natural, fresh produce is located, in the produce section, all right? Now, try not to shy away from the grocer's freezer aisle. Believe it or not, frozen fruits and vegetables and legumes are very, very nutritious. So if you find yourself purchasing a lot of fresh produce, but it goes bad very quickly, then consider the frozen options, okay? The frozen options will last you much longer, and guess what? They retain a lot of their nutrients. Next up, you may want to try shopping at a farmer's market. Now, believe it or not, there are lots of advantages to shopping at a farmer's market versus your local grocery store. For example, it's a farmer's market, so what that basically means is that the produce that is at the market is grown locally, right? So that means that there's less transportation time, and so ultimately that's going to save the farmer money, and ultimately that'll save you money. Also, there are going to be less pesticides and herbicides used on the produce. And most farmers markets have very strict stipulations about the produce being organic. So those are just a few of the advantages of shopping at a farmer's market versus your local grocery store. Next, if you don't quite know how to cook plant foods, I want to recommend that you walk over to the prepared dishes section of your local grocery store. Now, here's the thing. Go over to the counter, take a look at all of the prepared dishes that they have. Now, if you can't figure out what's vegan or vegetarian, just simply ask the person behind the counter. Let them know that you're only consuming plant foods and maybe you don't know what it is, so ask them for a taste sample. They'll be more than happy to offer you just a little bit, taste it, hopefully you like it, and then go ahead and purchase a pound, maybe even 2 pounds. And my last tip for Nature Day is for you to go visit a vegan restaurant. That's right, guys, a vegan restaurant. Now, some of us are totally unaware that vegan restaurants actually exist. Well, here's the thing. Go to Google and do a quick search for vegan restaurants near me. And in less than half of a second, Google will give you the results. Now, here's one thing that I like to say. A shoemaker to his shoes. In other words, vegan restaurants hire vegan chefs. Vegan chefs know which plant foods to combine to produce the greatest taste and, of course, the greatest nutrient combinations. So go ahead and go. Now, when you get there, I want you to do 2 things. Number 1, let them know that Coach D sent you. And number 2, be sure to order something that has millet in it. All right, it's time for our question of the day. And this comes from yours truly and the rest of the 23% Nation. Why? Because we have inquiring minds. So we want to know, which millet recipe do you prefer? Was it the first one, the second one, or maybe, just maybe, you know of a vegan millet recipe that you would like to share with us? So whether you want to take one of mine or share one of yours, please write your answer in the comment box below. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. I definitely want to thank you for listening. As always, let's eat well, feel well, think well, do well, be well. This is your man, Coach D. Now, before I sign out, I gotta ask you to please subscribe, like, and share the video, especially if you love millet. Also, don't forget to use our 3-word mantra. It's #EatMorePlants. As stated before, my name is Coach D. I'm signing out. Take care, God bless, and never ever forget that Coach D loves you.